There's a specific kind of tired that has nothing to do with sleep. You can be in your 20s or 30s, young by every number on your ID, and still feel like you've already lived a long, heavy life. Like you skipped a few chapters everyone else is still reading. You sit with people your own age and quietly feel decades apart from them. Their problems feel light to you. Their energy feels like it's coming from somewhere far away. And part of you keeps wondering why you feel so worn in this early. This isn't you being dramatic, and no, it isn't depression in a costume. There's a real, measurable thing going on here, and when researchers actually studied it, they found something close to the opposite of what you'd guess. This is the psychology of people who feel older than their age. Let me start with the part almost nobody sees coming. There's a whole field of research built on one simple question. How old do you feel on the inside, regardless of the number on the calendar?
They call it subjective age, the gap between the age you are and the age you feel. And here's the twist that should stop you. Most people don't feel older than they are. They feel younger. Past about 25, the average adult says they feel years younger than their actual age, and that gap keeps widening as they get older. So if you feel older instead, you're not just in a mood. You're on the rare side of a line researchers have been tracking for decades. And it matters more than it sounds. Feeling older than your age tends to show up early, before the lower mood, before the extra stress, before the health stuff catches up later. That's not a sign you're broken. Subjective age is more like your nervous system telling you how much it's been carrying. A readout, not a verdict. So the real question was never, why am I like this? It's sharper than that. What aged the inside of you while the outside stayed young?
And the first answer usually hides somewhere you stopped looking years ago. For a lot of people who feel older than their age, the clock started early. Maybe you were the kid who got responsible way too soon, the one who could read a room before you could really read a book, translating the world for a parent, keeping an eye on a younger sibling, reading an adult's mood from the next room so you'd know which version of the evening you were about to get. There's a name for one version of this: parentification, when a kid quietly picks up roles that were never theirs to carry. And here's what it does to you. While the other kids got to just be kids, you were already doing the emotional math of an adult every day without anyone noticing. You didn't age faster on the outside, you aged faster on the inside. You were logging adult hours before you were legally allowed to do much of anything. Think back for a second. What was the first grown-up job you got handed as a kid that was never supposed to be yours? Hold on to whatever just came to mind, because that's probably where this began. It's why being around carefree people your own age can feel so off. You're not better than them. You just never got the years of lightness they're still running on. Somebody promoted you to adult before you were ready. And nobody ever mentioned the promotion was permanent. Age isn't only time, it's mileage. Two cars roll off the lot the same year. One sits in a garage, the other crosses the country 100 times. Same age on paper, completely different wear underneath. People feel older when they've simply lived more inside the same handful of years. Loss that came too early, weight that came too heavy. Stretches where you survive things people your age have only ever watched in a movie. And here's the part that gets missed. Every one of those things taught you something real, but it also quietly raised the floor on what you think of as normal. Your friends get rattled by a small setback, and you're sitting there calm because your system has genuinely seen worse. From the outside, it looks like maturity. From the inside, it usually just feels like a tiredness that sleep doesn't touch. You didn't get more years. You got more life crammed into each one. And the body keeps that receipt. But the next one isn't about what happened to you at all. It's about a mind that never stops moving. And honestly, that's where a lot of the heaviness actually lives. When was the last time your brain was actually quiet? Not asleep, quiet. People who feel older than their age usually carry a mind that's always running, planning, bracing, replaying, already 3 moves ahead before the first one's even happened. There's a network in the brain that handles all that inner narration and running the future in advance. And in people like this, it barely powers down. And that kind of constant thinking ages you in a way that's hard to explain to anyone who doesn't do it. Everyone else is just at the dinner. You're at the dinner and quietly running 6 background processes about everyone's mood and what all of it means. That's not rest, that's work. Quiet, invisible, around-the-clock work. A mind that never clocks out doesn't get to feel young. Young feels loose and unguarded. A mind that's always on guard feels like it's been pulling a double shift since childhood, because, more or less, it has. Be honest with yourself. When did the stuff that's supposed to be fun for your age just stop landing? It's not that you got boring. Something quietly rewired what you even want, and it drops you into a gap nobody warns you about. The chasing, the going out, the noise, the drama, the constant wanting more. At some point, it just stopped doing anything for you. You'd take a slow morning over a wild night, a real conversation over a packed room, quiet over the high, almost every time. On paper, that sounds healthy, but there's a hidden cost. It can leave you stuck between two worlds, too settled for the people your own age, but not actually old enough to belong with the people whose pace you match. So you start feeling like you missed the version of being young everyone else apparently got a manual for. Here's the reframe though. You didn't miss it, you moved through it faster. What people read as you being too serious is usually just someone whose priorities showed up ahead of schedule. The problem was never that you wanted less. It's that you got handed adult wants while the world still expected you to want the kid stuff. This is the one that cuts deepest. When you feel older than your age, you tend to become the one everyone leans on, the steady one, the one people come to when their life is on fire. And you carry it well. You give the advice, you hold the space, you stay calm while everyone around you comes apart. But notice what almost never happens the other way. Who do you get to fall apart in front of? Because people make a quiet, lazy assumption about someone like you. They figure that because you seem so capable and so grounded, you must not need much holding yourself. So you end up being everyone's support and almost nobody's responsibility. And you age a little more each time you swallow your own needs to keep being strong for someone else's. There's research that lands right on this, hard. Loneliness, tracked over years, actually drives subjective age up. Going unseen and unheld doesn't just hurt in the moment. It ages you from the inside, measurably, year after year. So if you felt older than your age your whole life, some of it might not be what you went through at all. It might just be how long you've spent being the one who holds without ever really being held. So if all of that's true, here's the question that changes everything. Is feeling old actually who you are? Or is it just what you look like under a weight nobody ever let you put down? Because the science has a genuinely surprising answer. Subjective age isn't fixed, it moves. It climbs when you're stressed and unseen and carrying too much. And it comes back down when you finally feel safe, rested, and actually known. Which means the heaviness you've been calling your personality might really just be a weight you were never once allowed to set down. You were never old, you were overloaded. There's a difference, and that difference is your whole life back. Feeling older than your age was never proof your best years are behind you.
Most of the time, it's proof of how much you survived to get here. Carried mostly alone, mostly unnoticed, mostly without ever complaining about it. And that lightness you assume just isn't meant for you? It never left. It's been buried under everything you were too responsible to put down. So let me ask you straight. Have you always felt older than the people your age? And if you have, when's the last time someone actually took care of you instead of the other way around? Tell me in the comments. And if this put words to something you've been carrying for years, send it to the friend everyone leans on. The old soul who's quietly worn out from being everybody's rock. Subscribe for more videos that dig into the quiet psychology behind the things people never say out loud. See you next time.